As we heard moments ago from Kathleen Hayes, ADP reported that private payrolls cut 371,000 jobs in July. That's the smallest number in 9 months. Joining us now with more is Chris Varvares, the president of Macroeconomic Advisors, which compiled today's report. Chris, welcome to Bloomberg News.
Good to be here.
Sir, tell us about the compilation of that report. What factors went into this?
Well, as you may know, some of our viewers may know, we use the ADP payroll data. It's a very deep, broad sample. The ADP National Employment Report in its compilation actually has more initial payroll records than the BLS compilation does that we'll get on Friday. What the report showed was a substantial loss of jobs, although, as you noted, significantly less than we've seen over the last 6 months or so, and it's the lowest job loss in 9 months. So 371,000 private non-farm job losses spread across sectors and by firm size, fairly broad-based. So while there's bad news in terms of the job losses and it's widely spread, the good news is that the pace of job shedding does appear to be slowing, and it looks like we're on track to achieve potentially job gains by early 2010.
What does history tell us about the pace of those job gains then?
Well, you know, every recession recovery cycle is different. So in this case, the broad consensus is that this will be a subpar recovery, so job gains would be expected to be subpar as well.
What about manufacturing and construction? Are they starting to see signs of a bottom yet?
Yeah, great question. So in the goods-producing sector in July, the ADP National Employment Report showed 169,000 job losses. We can separately identify that there were approximately 99,000 manufacturing job losses, leaving about 70,000 job losses in construction. And of course, we're observing other data on the housing sector and manufacturing, suggesting that those two sectors are putting in a bottom. We would expect to see that employment would begin to turn up, or at least firm, first in those two sectors, and that is what we're seeing. Service sector job losses were 202,000, and it'll probably be a bit longer before we see some additional firming in the service sector.
Is that what you're seeing in the spending data as well?
Well, the spending data on services is a little bit slower to roll in, and we end up using a lot of, shall we say, imputations for service sector. But certainly for construction and employment, where we have the hard data, we're seeing, for example, in the latest residential construction report actually showed an upturn there in the monthly data, and the ISM indexes for manufacturing are also showing that they're creeping up to the levels that are very near those that would be associated with expanding manufacturing output.
And as our Kathleen Hayes was telling us in the last block, the dividing line is where, about 50?
That would be right. That would be for expansion in manufacturing for those ISM indexes.
Any sense what we might be seeing in Friday's report, Friday's jobs report?
Well, we've gone back and looked since we improved the methodology on the ADP National Employment Report. The average difference between the ADP private payroll employment number and the BLS private payroll employment number has been less than 10,000. It's been very tight. So we would expect for private employment something pretty darn close to the ADP number of a decline of 371,000.
Chris Varvares, the president of Macroeconomic Advisors, joining us this afternoon. Chris, thanks.